You know that t-shirt you're wearing or your favorite pair of jeans? They feel pretty simple, right? But here's the thing. Behind every single piece of clothing, there's this whole secret life, a huge chain of decisions and processes that we never see. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the incredible journey your clothes take before they even get to you. To help us out, we're diving into Gail Baugh's fashion designer's textile directory. And honestly, this quote from her just nails it. The whole point here isn't just to learn some facts about fabric. It's about understanding that every single choice, from a tiny thread to a final color, has a real impact. It's about making smarter, more responsible decisions in an industry that, let's face it, affects all of us. So let me just ask you straight up. When you're picking out an outfit in the morning, do you ever just stop and wonder about its origin story? I don't just mean the store you bought it from, but where it really came from. What kinds of choices led to it feeling the way it does? Let's trace that story all the way back to the beginning. Every story has a starting point, right? Well, for every t-shirt, every pair of socks, every jacket in the world, that story starts with one single fundamental choice: the fiber. This is the absolute ground floor, the raw ingredient that's going to dictate everything else that happens. So, what even is a fiber? Well, when you break it all down, it's just a tiny hair-like strand. And right from the get-go, a designer hits this massive fork in the road. Are they going to choose a natural fiber, something that grows from a plant or comes from an animal? Or are they going to go with a manufactured one, something cooked up in a lab from chemicals? Let's talk about that natural path first. You know, things like cotton, wool, linen. They feel amazing against your skin, they come from renewable sources, and, well, we tend to think of them as a luxury. But then you got to flip the coin. There are these hidden costs. Growing them can take a ton of chemicals and water, the runoff can pollute rivers, and sometimes the land used to grow cotton could have been used to grow food instead. So the big takeaway here is that natural doesn't automatically mean perfect. So what's the alternative? Well, manufactured fibers like polyester and rayon were basically invented to keep up with our huge appetite for clothes. The cool thing is they can be engineered to do specific jobs, like that workout shirt that wicks sweat away from your skin. Some are even made in what's called a closed-loop process, which is a fancy way of saying they capture and reuse the chemicals instead of dumping them. Pretty clever. Okay, so a fiber has been chosen. Now what? You can't wear a pile of loose fibers, right? The next big step is turning those tiny strands into actual fabric. Once they're spun into yarn, the next huge decision is about the fabric's blueprint. Is it going to be woven or is it going to be knitted? But hang on, before we dive into that, let's just zoom out and look at the whole assembly line. It's a pretty clear path. You start with the fiber, that gets spun into yarn, then the yarn goes to a textile mill where it becomes what's called greige fabric, which is basically just raw, naked, colorless cloth. From there, it goes to a finishing mill to get cleaned, colored, and ready to go. Okay, now let's go back to that crucial decision at the textile mill. Weaving, think of it like making a basket. You're interlacing threads at perfect 90-degree angles. It creates a really strong, stable fabric that doesn't have much give. Knitting, on the other hand, is all about making a series of interconnected loops. It's that loopy structure that gives knitted fabric its natural stretch and flexibility. And you can totally feel the difference in your own clothes. That tough, durable feel of your jeans, that's a classic weave. And the soft, stretchy comfort of your favorite t-shirt or a cozy sweater, yep, that's a knit. That one simple choice, weave or knit, is what defines the entire character of the fabric. So at this point, we've got fabric, but honestly, it's pretty boring. It's still that raw, unfinished greige fabric. This next stage is where it really gets its personality. This is where the color comes in, the feel, and any special features get at it. Now, when it comes to color, there are two main ways to do it. Dyes actually form a chemical bond with the fiber. They become part of it. But this usually takes huge amounts of hot water and can create some nasty chemical pollution. Pigments, though, are different. They're more like paint. They stick to the surface of the fabric. Printing with pigments uses way less water, but it can sometimes make the fabric feel a little bit stiff. And it doesn't stop with color. Fabrics can also get special treatments called finishes. You can think of these as, well, upgrades. Some are aesthetic, meaning they just change the look or feel, like brushing cotton to make it super soft flannel. And then you have functional finishes, which are like giving the fabric superpowers, making it water-resistant, wrinkle-free, or even anti-germ. And we are not talking about just a few options here. There are over 30 different types of functional finishes that a designer can choose from. Each one is a specific chemical process that adds a new property, from UV protection to being flame retardant. And you guessed it, each one adds another layer to that fabric's environmental footprint. So we've looked at all these little technical decisions, right? The fiber, the construction, the color, the finish. Now it's time to connect all those dots. Every single one of those choices adds up, and it all contributes to the garment's final social and environmental impact. And that responsibility? It lands squarely on the designer's shoulders. So, how do you make better choices? Well, the book lays out these really cool principles for what it calls smart design. It's about thinking bigger, choosing materials that are sustainable, designing patterns so that you have zero fabric waste, using labor efficiently, and maybe most importantly, creating clothes that can have a second life instead of just ending up in the trash. And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it. A design choice that's made in a studio in one part of the world can have a massive effect on the water and the health of a community on the complete other side of the planet. All that waste, from dyes and chemicals, it's a direct result of a design decision. Okay, so we followed this whole incredible journey, from a single, tiny fiber all the way to a finished garment. Now, let's bring it all back home, back to the clothes that are literally hanging in your closet right now. Because I promise, after this, you might see them in a whole new way. Think about it. Every single stitch, every seam, that represents the time and the skill of a real person, someone who sat at a machine and put that garment together. It tells a human story. That vibrant red or deep blue that you love so much, that color didn't just appear. It came from a process that probably used a massive amount of water and chemicals, creating wastewater that had to be dealt with somewhere. And the fabric itself, whether it started its life as a plant growing in a field or as chemicals in a lab, it used land, it used water, and it used energy to become the thing you're wearing today. It left a mark. So the next time you get dressed, just take a second. Feel the fabric. Look at the color. Think about the journey it took to get to you. Every single thing you wear has a secret life, and it's telling a story. So the question is, what story are your clothes telling?